Welcome back, students. Let us start part 2 of elasticity of demand. In this part we are going to discuss types of price elasticity of demand. There are various types of price elasticity of demand. So in the last part I told you what is price elasticity. When the change in price is there and demand also changes, it is called as price elasticity. So there are 5 types of price elasticity of demand. Number 1, perfectly elastic demand. ED is elasticity of demand is equal to infinity. When a slight or a zero change in the price brings about an infinite change in quantity demanded of that commodity, it is called perfectly elastic demand. For example, 10% fall in price may lead to infinite rise in demand. So symbolically the formula is elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded upon percentage change in price. And diagrammatically this is x-axis, this is y-axis. On the x-axis we measured quantity demanded, along with y-axis we measured price, and DD is the demand curve which shows that it is a horizontal straight line parallel to x-axis. It shows the perfectly elastic demand. This price is OP, there is no change in price but demand rises. So this is, you have to understand about perfectly elastic. There is absolutely no change in price but demand changes, and diagrammatically it is a horizontal straight line. Second, perfectly inelastic demand. When a percentage change in price has no effect on the quantity demanded of a commodity, it is called perfectly inelastic demand. For example, 20% fall in price will have no effect in quantity demanded. That means there is absolutely no change in demand. Demand is rising or demand is falling. Understand the diagram. Here along with x-axis we measured quantity demanded, along with y-axis we measured price. OP is the original price. OP is the original price and OQ is the original demand. Price rises to OP1 but demand remains the same at OQ. Price falls to OP1 but demand remains the same at OQ. So whether there is an increase in the price or whether there is a decrease in the price, demand remains the same. And diagrammatically DD is the demand curve which is a vertical straight line. Vertical straight line parallel to y-axis in case of perfectly inelastic demand. That means absolutely no change in demand. Next, unitary elastic demand. When a percentage change in price leads to a proportionate change in quantity demanded, the demand is said to be unitary elastic. For example, 50% fall in price of a commodity leads to 50% rise in quantity demanded. In the diagram, look at the diagram. Here OP is the original price and OQ is the original demand. OP is the original price, OQ is the original demand. Price falls to OP1. Price falls to OP1 in the same proportion. Demand rises to OQ1. This measurement of change in price and change in demand are equal, right? So this is what is called as unitary elasticity of demand, and diagrammatically it is a rectangular hyperbola. Rectangular hyperbola. Okay, both this, they are same. Change in price and change in demand both are same. This is in case of unitary elastic demand. Now the next is relatively elastic demand. See, basically perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, they are the rare situation in the market. What exists in the market is relatively elastic demand and relatively inelastic demand. So let us understand relatively elastic demand. when a percentage change in price leads to more than proportionate change in quantity demanded, the demand is said to be relatively elastic. For example, 50% fall in price leads to 100% rise in quantity demanded. So there is a change in price also, there is a change in demand also, but demand changes more than the change in price. This is called as relatively elastic demand. Look at the diagram. OP is the original price, OQ is the original demand. Price falls to OP1. This is the change in price, P to P1. But demand rises in a greater proportion from Q to Q1. So change in price is less, change in demand is more. It is called as relatively elastic demand, and diagrammatically it has a general slope or flatter slope. Generally the diagram is like this only, demand curve in the demand curve is like this. So it is a flatter slope, or demand curve has a general slope. Now look, we'll go to the next point, that is the last one, that is relatively inelastic demand. Now let us discuss what is relatively inelastic demand. When the percentage change in price leads to a less than proportionate change in quantity demanded, demand is said to be relatively inelastic. That means both are changing, price is also changing and demand is also changing, but change in price is more than the change in demand. For example, demand price falls 50%, but demand rises to only 25%. Now look at the diagram. In the diagram, OP is the original price, OQ is the original demand. Price falls to OP1, demand rises to OQ1. So change in price is more and change in demand is less. This is called as relatively inelastic demand, which is less than 1. And diagrammatically it has a steep slope. This is called as a steep slope. Change in price is more, change in demand is less. So these are the 5 types of price elasticity of demand. The question can be, explain the various types of price elasticity of demand. So all the 5 types with diagram you have to explain: perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, then unit elastic demand, relatively elastic demand, and relatively inelastic demand. All the 5 you have to give in your answer with diagram. Thank you very much.